Daycare cost. Let's talk about it.
When somebody tells you they can't afford to have children, this is what they're talking about. A woman in my town's Facebook group shared these daycare rates today, and she said, "How do you afford kids here? Because nobody knows how anybody is paying for this. For an infant for 5 days a week with 10 hours of care, it is $664 a week. That is just shy of $35,000 a year for one child. And the price does not drop that much when they hit pre-K here. It's $521 a week, which is about like $28,000 a year, okay? These are incredibly high rates for daycare. And of course, you could drop down to 9 hours a day or whatever it might be. But here's the thing. When you go to daycare, typically you're going to take the most hours because you have to commute to work, you have to commute back from work, and you have to work 8 hours a day. And unfortunately, when you miss pickup by 1 minute, they start charging you like $2 a minute. So usually it's more cost effective just to pay the higher rate for the 10 hours than to pay for the 9 hours, which is like crazy because it's 1 hour difference. These are rates for one kid. We were talking about one child. Imagine if a family has two kids. They're paying $50,000, $60,000 a year for childcare. That is unsustainable for most families. And yes, the cost goes down slightly as they get older. But what that doesn't account for, that rate sheet, is the annual increase. Every single September, daycare centers raise their tuitions because they have to. And typically that's anywhere between 5 to 20%. And most people are looking at 10% increase. So even though you have that savings when they hit pre-K, by the time your kid hits pre-K, it's been 4 or 5 years. That rate has gone up exponentially, okay? So when someone tells you they can't afford to have children, oftentimes it's because of the cost of childcare. And if it's not just the cost of childcare, it's the cost of housing and groceries. And you compound all those things, healthcare costs, it's incredibly expensive. I did not know, looking back 4 or 5 years ago when I first started having kids, that I would be paying this much money for daycare because the rates looked drastically different. The rates over the last 20 years or something have gone up like 200%. It is wild how expensive childcare is in our country. If we had affordable childcare, it would not only benefit families and children, it would benefit the economy, it would benefit businesses, and it would benefit us as a greater society. The economy would be better for it. This is not just a parent problem, right? But like people constantly are looking at adults who are married or of, birthing years and saying, why aren't you having kids? And we're looking around saying, how could we possibly have kids when we can't even afford to buy a house?
What a time we live in, guys. Oh my gosh, 30-something thousand dollars a year to have someone watch your kid for 10 hours a day. Oh my goodness, what in the hell is going on? These comments here say they're charging $55 to $75 per hour while probably paying their employees $15. Ridiculous. That is true. Like, daycare workers deserve higher pay. It's a hard job. Very hard job. And the sad part is that isn't even the highest amount that we're going to see in today's video. Some of these daycare costs are mind-blowing. No wonder people are choosing not to have kids right now. It's because you can't afford anything. Like she said, you can't even afford a house. What makes you think you can afford some kids and put them in daycare and spend a freaking yearly salary, annual salary on them for someone else to watch them? Holy Toledo.
How much are you all paying for daycare? I've got 2 kids, okay? I am paying $2,675, and that is with a sibling discount. My daughter, who just moved up from the infant room, when she was in the infant room, her tuition was $1,764 a month. $1,700. How can anybody afford daycare? My son, he's 4, so he's in pre-K right now. His tuition is $1,161 a month. Can he be in kindergarten yet? Can I enroll him? I have 1 more year. Drop in the comments how much you guys are paying for daycare.
Absolutely wild. I mean, here's the real question. Like, how long is this gonna last? Like, for real, like, how long can people be paying more in childcare than what they pay for their mortgage or rent? Absolutely wild. And then it's like, oh, well, stay home instead of having someone else watch your kids. But it's like, yeah, well, then you can't afford all the other crap either. Because now you're back down to one income. We have got to figure out something as a country, whether that be, I think it starts from the top. It does. It starts from our government. We have to get our spending under control as well as the amount of money we are still printing into this economy. We have got to get that cleaned up and figured out. Praying for all the other families out there with young kids. This is insane. Now, on top of daycare costs being extremely high, the other thing I can't wrap my head around is, do you ever wonder why you're getting so many spam calls or junk emails? Well, I did too until I Googled my name and email. It was shocking. Dozens of websites had my info, full name, phone number, even my home address just sitting there. Turns out data brokers are the problem. These companies collect and sell your personal information to marketers, scammers, even stalkers. And they do it without your permission. That's why I use Aura, today's sponsor, and the tool I personally recommend to my friends and family. Aura automatically removes your personal information from data broker sites and keeps it off. No more jumping through confusing legal hoops. They handle it for you. And they don't stop there. Aura is like having a full security team in your pocket. Alerts if your info is found on the dark web, real-time fraud alerts from banks and credit agencies, VPN, antivirus, password manager, all in one app, plus $5 million in identity theft, insurance, and 24/7 US-based support. These companies are making billions selling your data, and enough is enough. That's why I choose Aura. Check out aura.com/JJBuckner or click the link in my description to get a 14-day free trial. I'll have a pinned comment as well down below for you to sign up for Aura today.
I'm sorry, but how can people afford daycare? Like, if you have two working parents, how is it possible to afford daycare full time? We are blessed to have 2 days that my mother-in-law watches the boys, which is wonderful. But we have friends that send their kids to daycare all week, and individually each kid is $70 a day. That means if you have two kids, it's $140. So overall, that equals out to at least $35,000 for the year. It literally leaves you with like nothing left. Sorry, but the US system is not made for two parents to be working. It literally is not. And some days I'm like, why do I even work? I don't know. And I feel like nowadays it is becoming more common and more accepting that mothers stay home. I'm not knocking on daycares either, because bless their hearts, I could never stay home with 5 kids that are not my own. But even them, like, they don't make that much money. People in daycare don't even make that much money. And you look at other countries, and I don't know. We need to start paying people more. We just need to start paying people more. They can afford daycare. Or we just need to make it more accepted that mothers stay home, that they can be stay-at-home moms.
I think a lot of that starts with lifestyle too, though, guys. Like, don't get me wrong, I know it's expensive. I know cost of living's gone up over the past 4 years tremendously. I know no one can live right now and afford to live, whatever. I get it. I know all the arguments. I get it. I understand. It is tough times right now, and it's not like it was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, hell, even the 80s and 90s, when you can get a one-person income at like a factory warehouse job and buy a house, some nice cars, and take vacations multiple times a year. That's just not the time frame we're living in right now. Unfortunately, it sucks. But I am a very big advocate on, if you want to, women, don't come for my neck. I have those of you in the comment sections every time I say this. But there are a lot of women out there who would love to stay home and raise their children. So in order to do that, there may be some financial planning that needs to happen. You and the hubby need to get together, sit down and say, all right, let's look at our current lifestyle. And let's look at what we may need to change to cut out of the budget in order for me to stay home and watch the kids. Yes, you may already be living at the top of your budget, but that may mean you got to sell the big fancy house. You may have to sell a couple of the big fancy cars and just kind of downgrade lifestyle for the next 5 years until your kids start kindergarten. That's just the time of life maybe you're living in right now. And if you, the wife, or you, the husband, I'm totally fine with a stay-at-home dad. I'd love it. If that's what you want to do, you guys got to figure out a way to plan accordingly to do that. And that usually means some drastic changes in lifestyle, unfortunately.
How on earth are y'all affording daycare? Because I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. My husband and I went into a daycare today. I don't fully know what I'm planning on doing next, but we wanted to make sure that we were prepared with childcare when I figure it out. I've heard all the horror stories. Wait lists are super long. It's really hard to get a spot. We wanted to go ahead and get ahead of it, get them on a wait list. So we tour this place. It's really nice. It's beautiful. It's clean. Good staff, good ratios, good safety measures. Really close to the apartment. We're feeling great about it. It lines up with all of our online research that we did. Things look good. But a fun thing about most daycares that you find out when you're looking at daycares
is they don't put the pricing online. You don't get to know that information until you go and have a tour. So we go, we do the tour, we ask all of our questions, we're very impressed, we love the place, it seems like a great fit. She hands us the packet at the end with the tuition listed on it. For the toddler room, it is $405 a week. That is a little bit over $1,600 a month. I'm sorry, what? Again, I knew it was expensive, but even in Nashville, I feel like the numbers I'd seen before was like $1,300, maybe $1,400 a month on the upper end. But I guess a lot of the research I had done on pricing was maybe like pre-inflation, maybe it was a little bit outdated. $1,600 a month. The way I just had to sit there with a completely straight face, like, yes, that is a reasonable number that does not make me want to throw up at all. I am just shocked. And maybe I shouldn't be, but I just am. Because that is not a number that most people can reasonably pay without a second income already in place. So yeah, we can put him on the wait list, like they have a spot open for him right now if I wanted. There is no way for him to start daycare until I either have a job in place and I'm getting a paycheck actively, or if I'm in school and I already have student loans dispersed in order to pay that cost. Looking at that, it's not surprising to me that a parent would choose to stay home instead of doing all of that. It's very stressful, like knowing that you cannot have daycare until you start a job so that you have money to pay for that daycare. But you also can't start a job without daycare in place. So much like juggling of logistics. It's really stressful. That's just me being horrified. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one to figure out.
I want to know what you guys pay in daycare costs if you're willing to share. I want to see it in the comment section and see how these stack up to what my viewers are actually paying. So if you feel comfortable, let me know down in the comment section how many kids you have, where you live in the country, and what you're being charged for daycare costs. Very curious to see where these numbers come in at. And if you don't have daycare costs, tell us how you're doing. Either you're staying at home, or you have some amazing in-laws, or you have amazing grandparents.
So I was just down in my lobby talking to a girl that also said she's not re-signing her lease, and I was like, oh yeah, like did they raise your rent? She's like, yeah, but also we're about to have a second kid in daycare. And I was like, is daycare expensive? Like, I guess these are just things that I don't think about as a single person with no kids. She pays $3,000 a month for one kid, and she's about to pay $6,000 a month to have two kids in daycare on top of rent. I looked at her, I was like, excuse me? Scusi? Ciao? $6,000 a month for kids that don't even talk yet. They just play with blocks. What?
Yo, what the hell? Are these kids getting filet mignons and oysters for an appetizer and lunch? What the hell are they teaching these kids that's charging these parents $6,000 a month? Speechless. Absolutely speechless.
How much do you pay for daycare? We live in Massachusetts where childcare is definitely very expensive, but I know it's expensive everywhere. And we pay about $25,000, a little more than that a year for one child. And when my baby starts and we're paying for two children, it's going to be, we just got that quote, so it's going to be over $1,000 a week for the two of them. Luckily, we'll only have about like 6 months of overlap, because then my daughter will be doing summer camps, and which will be cheaper, and then going to kindergarten. And we'll still have to pay for aftercare, but it will not be nearly as much as paying for two in daycare. So yeah, what do you pay for a daycare, and where do you live?
So some of the comments, what she asked for was, this guy says, Colorado, $480 a week for one child. This is exactly the reason why I get up at 4 a.m. and drive an hour to go take care of my granddaughter. I'm sorry that our country's like this. I live in Ontario, and thankfully I'm subsidized, so it's $0 for me. Wow, that's pretty nice. $2,400 per month for two kids, good old New York, where salary doesn't ever and probably will never match cost of living.
Well, my wife had to go back to work after our second kid, which sucks. And now we're coming up on finding daycare. So went and toured this one that we loved. A little bit of unfortunate news. When she told me the price over the phone, I thought, wow, that is fucking crazy. But if we absolutely had to make it work and it's the right place, we'll check it out. Well, the bad news is I thought that was for both our kids, but since we have a 3-year-old, yeah, that'd be $2,025 a month for him. And for our infant, oh, just tack on another $2,470. $4,400 a month for our children to be in daycare. Go fuck yourselves, America.
Yeah, I'm just like, it doesn't even make sense to me. It doesn't. Like, I'm saying this, I'm just waiting for all hell to break loose in this country. I don't see how people can do it. How are you guys doing it out there? Like, realistically, how are people affording to live right now? I don't get it. I really don't. Comments are like, why aren't, in quotations, why aren't millennials having more kids? Because it costs $4,000 to $6,000 a month to go for your kids to go to daycare. It says we literally work to pay people to raise our babies. Oh, I hate that's. Oh, see, now that one hurts. That one hurts. That right there, people, should be your motivation in order to figure out a way for one parent to stay home. Decrease lifestyle massively. Move if you have to. One guy goes, just take him to doggy daycare. It's cheaper. The guy goes, the comment we didn't know we needed, but we all deserved. Doggy daycare. Here we come, baby. Here's my kid. I mean, guys, if you can figure out a way to have a parent stay home, unless the parents don't want to stay home, I get that. But I understand there are circumstances where you can't make that happen. You can't make those decisions. You can't leave your job. I get that. I'm just saying, though, if that's something you want to try to do, maybe look at lowering your lifestyle massively for the next, 1 to 5 years, however many years you have left of daycare, and see if you can make it work.